So in this video, we will be taking a look at the named entity recognition task. It's also called NER for short. Now, if we go and look at the CloudNL API, the sample text they already have, when you analyze it, you notice that at the top left tab, you have this thing called entities. So this entities tab shows you all the named entities that the NL API is able to extract from the sample text which was provided. So for example, it's able to get Google, Android, Sundar Pichai, Mountain View, and Consumer Electronics Show, and so on. So this is the task of extracting known named entities. It's also called NER for short, like I mentioned. And you've already used NER in Dialogflow. And the reason I can be so confident is that if you have been using system entities in Dialogflow, which I expect that you have, then you already come across the NER task. So let's take an example. Let's say that I type in a phrase like, my name is Rose. And you can see that it's able to assign this word Rose to this entity of type sys.givenName, which is the same as the first name entity type. And on the other hand, if I had to say something like it had a rose tint, now you can see that it still highlights the word rose, but here it has assigned it the entity sys.color, which is correct in this context, of course. So it's able to look at the phrase and look at the context, and it's able to understand what type of entity is that referring to. Now, why is this useful? Now, it's obviously useful because let's say that you're collecting the input like a name from the user, like the first name. What this allows us to do is you can just say my name is, and then follow that by an example name, because it has this ability to extract the named entity just from that. This helps us. It's like a compact way of representing. Instead of that, let's say you had to supply like a lot of examples. If you had to consider every possible name, of course that would make no sense at all. But let's just say that that's how you Dialogflow operated. Now that's a really bad thing, because that means you have to spend a lot of time and effort to specify the different patterns that people could use when they are providing their names. So NER gives us a way to compactly handle such patterns which involve these entities. And of course, Dialogflow extends it a little further by allowing you to create your own entities. These are called developer entities. And I think that under the hood, it probably works in the same way. It's able to look at the phrase and see if it contains one entity that it already knows about, and it tries its best to assign the entity, the correct type of entity to whatever the user has input. So that's what named entity recognition, what the task is, and that's how it helps us in Dialogflow.